I used to live in a town called Elk Ridge, tucked up near the New England woods, the kind of place where every road has a dead end and no one ever moves in or out. Everyone knew everyone's dog's name, but no one ever talked about the things that really mattered. Things like why the woods were off limits after dark, or why once every few years someone just disappeared. I didn't think much of it until the fall I turned 21, the year my cousin Sarah came to stay with us. Sarah had this city energy, loud and confident, like she didn't believe in anything she couldn't see. I remember her laughing the first time someone mentioned the rule of the red lights. She thought it was a joke, this superstition where, if you drove down Hollow Pine Road at night and all the traffic lights stayed red, you had to turn around and go back. Nobody explained why. They just said you had to. But Sarah didn't listen to that kind of thing. It was late October, and we were coming back from a Halloween party a few towns over. The sky was already pitch black by the time we reached the edge of Elk Ridge. I remember the air felt heavier than usual, thick like wet wool, and the road ahead of us seemed darker than the sky itself. Hollow Pine Road was the quickest way home, but it was also the most avoided. Still, Sarah didn't hesitate. She clicked on her brights and turned onto it, grinning like a kid sneaking out past curfew. The road was silent. No other cars, no wind, just our headlights carving through the blackness like knives. We hit the first light and it turned red. I remember how sudden it was. One moment the intersection was empty, and the next, the light glared crimson. Sarah rolled her eyes, drumming her fingers on the wheel. When the light turned green, we kept going. The second light turned red too. We both laughed it off, though mine was quieter, more uncertain. The third light was also red. That's when I noticed the time, 12:03 a.m. I had this sinking feeling in my gut that felt completely disconnected from logic. Something primal. Sarah just muttered something about small-town infrastructure and kept driving. The fourth red light didn't turn green. We sat there waiting until she started getting annoyed. Then the light above us began to flicker. Not fast, but slow and deliberate, like someone was tapping a switch with purpose. That's when I noticed the fog, not rolling in from the forest, but rising from the pavement itself. It hugged the car like hands on glass. The radio, which had been off, suddenly clicked to life with nothing but static, like a whisper trying to form words. Sarah reached for the dial, but the moment her hand touched it, the static cut out and a voice came through. It was female, low and calm. "You were told not to come." That's all it said. She yanked her hand back like she'd touched fire.
Months later, our group was hanging out at Johnny's house. He brought up Patrick and, despite our warnings, said his name 3 times to mock us. He thought the whole thing was dumb. At first, nothing happened and he laughed at us. But a few minutes later, Patrick appeared, literally jumped over Johnny's backyard fence. Johnny froze mid-sentence, staring at him. We all went dead silent. Patrick just looked at us for a few seconds, then jumped the fence again and vanished. Johnny flipped out. He accused us of setting the whole thing up, but we had no idea Patrick was going to show up. We had begged him not to say the name, and now we were all shaken. Johnny kicked everyone out that night. He was scared, even if he wouldn't admit it. The last encounter was the worst. I was home alone for once, which was rare, and I invited a guy over I'd been talking to. It was raining outside, and everything seemed fine until he brought up Patrick. I immediately tensed up. When I explained the story, he laughed and screamed Patrick's name 3 times, loud enough to shake the windows. I begged him to stop, but he thought it was hilarious. The moment he finished yelling, the rain intensified, like nature itself responded. Then came a blinding flash of lightning. I looked out my window and saw a figure standing in my driveway, staring up at my window. I knew it was Patrick. I ran downstairs to lock every door, heart racing. I saw him again,
this time in my front yard. I panicked, screaming, "I'm adopted," over and over, hoping it might protect me. Eventually, he vanished. But I was a wreck, curled on the floor, shaking. It was the first time I feared for my life. The next morning, after the guy left, I went outside. In the far corner of my yard was Patrick's hoodie, and wrapped inside it were some of my missing belongings, things I didn't even realize were gone. I was too scared to call the police. I decided to tell my parents after school, but the next day Patrick didn't show up to class. He didn't show up the day after either. Eventually, he just disappeared. No one knew where he went. No one ever saw him again. I still think about it. My parents still live in that house, and I sometimes wonder if he ever came back without anyone noticing. Some classmates claimed they'd seen him hiding and listening to people's conversations. That might explain how he always appeared at the right time. Looking back, I think Patrick was just a mentally ill stalker. Maybe he followed me and a few other girls around for years. That's the only way to explain everything. But knowing that doesn't bring peace. It only makes it worse. He could be anywhere now, listening, waiting, remembering every name we ever said.